Hi, this is Carrie Mubarak at Wooing Nature, and this is the Art of the Deck. Wooing Nature's flip through and review with the art and the artist in mind. So, the reason why we do it this way is because the art and the intuitive nature of art really draws the reader in. For me, as a visual reader, it really draws me in, and I think it probably does so for other readers as well. But a lot of times, people kind of shift the artist to the background, and the focus is more or less on the person who wrote the deck or who wrote the text. Or who wrote the book in the deck and that kind of thing. So I always like to shout out the artist because for me, it's the art that really draws me into the intuitive space. And so when we find a deck that is not just intuitively pleasing, but also aesthetically pleasing, we want to bring that to you. So the one that we are featuring is Primordial Tarot. And this is a remake. This is a remaster of another deck called Tarot of the Origins. And the artist was the same. And the artist's name is Sergio Toppi. And so Sergio Toppi, born in Milan, Italy, is very well known among comic book aficionados because he did a lot of comics. He did the pen and ink drawings for a lot of comic books and comics in general. So that's how he is known. But he also did tarot decks and among other things. And so look up his work. It is amazing. There are several volumes of Sergio Toppi's paintings that you can find on Amazon, and I'm planning to get all of them because the work, when I saw it here through the Primordial Tarot and also through Tarot of the Origins, because that's how I connected with the work was through the original deck, but I couldn't afford the original deck because the original deck um, was actually out of print and it cost something like $495 on Amazon to get it. And I was like, I can't do that, but I love these images. So I had been admiring them for quite some time just from afar. And then they remade the deck as Primordial Tarot. So the images are very similar. It's just like the way the card looks. So instead of the original deck had the trim around the edges and then the image in the middle, but these they you'll see when I show it to you what I'm talking about. So there have been a few changes, but not that many. So you can still enjoy this gentleman's very fine work, and I'm going to be sharing that with you in just a few minutes. So, like I said, Sergio Toppi, born in Milan, Italy, known for his pen and ink drawings. These drawings are pen and ink and watercolor. So, and I'll just run through the deck. And while I'm talking, I'll also share with you other things that I found about the deck as I was going along. So, one of the things is that this is a tarot. It is 78 cards in this deck. It is set up like a tarot. You can use it like a tarot if you want to, but when you look at it and when you read the text, and the text is by Barbara Moore, I believe it is. I'll double check that in a minute, but Barbara Moore did the text. So when you read the card, when you go through the deck for the first time and you look at the card and you compare it to the text, and the message of the text, you get a very different feel for this deck. And it's almost like, why read it? Why try to pair it up with a traditional tarot meaning when it really doesn't actually do that? If you want to go through the effort, you can. And if that's what you want to do, go through it. But once you go through this book and you read the text and you really familiarize yourself with the meaning behind these cards, or at least the meaning that comes through from it, I think that you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. So this is the zero card. This would be associated with the Fool card. And there's some comparisons to be made, but as we go a little further along, I'll share with you one of my faux pas, something that I immediately thought and it wasn't. This is associated with the magician. So there is the 22 major arcana, just like just like normal. But some of these cards are even labeled or named something different, and I'll get to that. One of the things that I noticed about this deck is that there is a lot of association or a lot of reference to the feminine. This is the number 2 card, which would be associated with the High Priestess, and a lot of times we associate the High Priestess, of course, traditionally was seen as a woman, but throughout the deck there's a lot of reference. So the cards that we normally associate with the feminine, whether it be the Empress or the High Priestess, or some of the Queen cards, there's more of that in this deck. And here's another example. So a lot of reference to the feminine, and lots of also reference to shamans and to shamanism. You can see, for me, the earth connection in his images, his study of other cultures resonates and shows up in this deck. And again, if you are interested in the volumes of his drawings, then you'll see in each volume, it's almost like he deals with a different culture. So you can see that in the images of the cards. So for those who can appreciate having people of color or having more of an indigenous or earth-connected tone to your readings, you'll appreciate that in this deck. All right, so here's one of the examples of how things are very different. This is considered to be the Chariot, and when you read the text, you'll see that there's this idea that in order for something to move, or for there to be movement, there has to be the thought, there has to be the etching. It's like first you have to write it down, and then when you write it down, then the thing can live. It can come from your imagination and then live or manifest or move or be a part of something that's moving. So this is associated with the Chariot card, but to me, you almost see handwriting on the wall, the etchings of the cave dwellers they speak about, and how those etchings of the cave dwellers, or people that wrote or chronicled their lives in on caves or wherever it was that they did it, that was the beginning of things that represents movement. So just a different way of connecting. Here was my faux pas. I just knew that this was death, and this is actually associated with the Hermit card. So I automatically saw the bones, I saw the skull, I said, oh, that's got to be the death card. It isn't. So that's what I mean when I say that this deck is so different and so alluring, and it lends itself to an intuitive read. You might as well just let the card speak to you. This is one of my favorites. I was wondering, who is he? This one is Time. I said, look at Time. Love that. So again, here's more of the feminine, the vessel, the womb, the spirit of the feminine in relationship to creation shows up throughout this. Life and death, death and life, the shaman's death shows up a lot in this deck. This is the death card. No, this is the death card. My fault. This is the death card. So just my recommendation when you get this deck, or if you decide to get this deck, just spend time with it on your own, and then read through the text. Read through the text. This is the Sun card. I really like that one. And really get an understanding of where they were going, because it's not It's not a traditional read. It really isn't. All right, so now we've gotten through, that's the major arcana. Now we're going to go through each of the suits. Now, if you'll notice, what they've done is that they've colored the suits. So each suit is a different color, which is nice. If you're looking, if you want to know right off the bat. So each one of these represents their suits, but their suits are, again, not associated with the traditional. They have the suit of nature, which is green. They have the suit of jewels, yellow, or like mustard color. Then they have the suit of the soul, and then they have the suit of blood. And so, again, if you read the text, you'll realize that it's a very different feeling in these suits. I don't make the association with the swords and the pentacles. Now, I will say jewels, the suit of jewels, kind of relates to pentacles, but to me, every card in here reads more like art and creation, and when you create something from yourself. It's more about creation. This one is about it's about etching things in stone. This one is about creating the mask that is then worn by the shaman, so creation there. This one is about art and emblems of art. This one is about building one's own home, which is about architecture. So as you can see with the suit of jewels, it's more or less about, this one has to do with talismans, connecting to your ancestry and wearing something that represents that. So that's associated with the material. This one is another one of those feminine creation cards. So I would say that the suit of jewels is the one that I would say more closely relates to pentacles in a way, but it's more or less about creation and creating and being creative, and then showing, having emblems of your creation or the creation or your ancestors' creation around you. The other thing about this deck that's a little bit different is that they do have your regular 1 through 10, but when it gets to the court cards, it just keeps going. So instead of stopping at 10 and then having your page, your knight, your queen, and your king, it just goes 11, 12, 13, 14. And then the 11 is the child. The 12 card is the animal. And then there's the woman of the suit, and then the man of the suit. And I'll show you when we get to the other suit. So that's the suit of jewels, and I said that one I can make the connection there. But the one that's really different for me is the suit of blood. To me, this is very first chakra. All the cards in this series really have to do with survival. This is about eating, hunting and eating, or it could be, as we relate to ourselves, going out and going to work so that you can eat. And some of the cards relate to war, like I think this one is about war. This one is about aggression, just pure aggression. This is about the hunt, being able to see the blood. It actually talks about seeing blood and that being the drive. So this is about eating, you know. We've even got a Neanderthal man that shows up here with a bone in his hand. I mean, it's very first chakra to me, and very much about survival. And this one is about birthing, like the travailing part of birth, which we know that's this one. I thought this was a rock or a stone, and come to find out this is like a meat skewing on a skewer here, and everybody happy because they're eating. So this suit of blood really has more or less to do with survival. So, you can put that where it goes. Even this sister, this is the woman of blood, and she's, a warrior too. She handling what she has to handle. And then that is the man of blood. So going back again, just briefly, I won't keep belaboring you with this, but that's your court card: the child, the animal, the woman, and the man of blood. So you do have the essence of a court card in each suit. All right, so this is the suit of nature, one of my favorites, of course. And this does relate to our natural connection to the earth. Most of the cards here, in this one, it says the woman takes on the mask of the tree, and so then she can embody the essence of the tree, which is, this one is about sitting still and becoming balanced. This one is about watching something grow, knowing how to be patient, waiting for it to grow. So this is another one of my favorites. This is about listening to spirit, listening to the nature spirits. So the green is a no-brainer. Getting grounded. And then this is the child and the animal of nature, and then the woman and the man. So very intense images in all of these. One of the things that was pointed out in the text also was that there were a lot of shamans in this deck. I think that they mostly live in the suit of the soul, which is represented by the color blue. Throughout this particular suit, they talk about shamans. This is one here, the initiate, listening to the spirit from the other side. This one is about dancing, releasing spirits. The shaman throwing the bones. So throughout this suit, there's the connection to the spirit, which I think you could associate with cups. Blue, you can kind of associate with cups and water. But a lot of the spiritual connections are in this blue suit, or the suit of the soul. So we're coming down to the last of these. So look up Sergio Toppi, do your research, check out those volumes that are on Amazon if you are into this kind of thing, or do your research about this artist. I think that I definitely feel blessed to have these in my collection now, and I have done a couple of readings with them, and it's primal. You know, it's primal. It is the messages to me are they reach deeper into our collective psyche. I think that they reach deeper into the individual at a soul level, and I think it's just because of probably Toppi's connection to clearly has done his research and clearly has done some kind of connecting to indigenous cultures throughout the world, and I think that energy and the spirit of that comes through in the reading. So I hope that you enjoyed this. Please check out the other art of the decks for different artists that do tarot decks or oracle decks. I do these periodically just to honor the artist and to share with you some of the decks that I read from time to time. And so I hope that you enjoy it. As always, have a fabulous life.